What I've loved about our team this whole year, they've had just a togetherness and a resiliency. I really felt before, Brenda is such a great coach, and no matter if they have injuries or they have the loaded senior team or young team, they're just always good. But I felt this with our size. I felt if we could just stay composed, that, we'd have a really good shot. And I think when we got our lead, right? They're so good and they're at home and they're not used to losing. So we can critique all of that. It happens so fast. But usually when that happens, everything perfectly has to happen for a run like that, right? We were going 11. We were trying to switch most screens most of the game, and then they were ghosting them. So then I switched to let's stay with our people. We blew a lot of assignments. Well, Maryland hadn't shot well, right? And all of a sudden they made everything. So I think coming in here and getting a win like that, like people are going to critique, oh, they had it, but they don't lose much here. And sport is sport. And there's emotion, there's momentum, there's drama. And I just feel like for our team that's mostly younger, but led by some pretty, strong-willed seniors, when it got to be a game to 5 minutes, they were like, okay, we're not gonna be denied. And I thought that was pretty cool.
You sort of say to your team when all that momentum is going against you going into overtime?
Yeah. Well, I thought it was key that, they're probably not going to be able to think they're going to win it if I've lost my mind that we've lost the lead, right? And it just, you coach long enough and it does all happen to you. I watched Maryland and Minnesota. That was crazy. I turned that game off 4 times. They're not going to win. Then I check ESPN. I'm like, what? Go back. So that came through my mind. It was like teams just get like in their minds, we got this, right? So when we started, I said, look, we know exactly what we've done. We were in control. We got really in control. And then we got timid. We got a decision right now. We got 5 more minutes. Do we want to be timid and we want to let something that we fought so hard for slip away, or we want to play 5 minutes hard and take what we think we want to get? And I just felt they just hunkered down. But for them, Maryland scored first, and for us to come down and still handle all that, that was a heck of a win, and I'm really, really proud of them.
What did you think once you got to overtime? That's a great speech, by the way. What did you see your team do well that maybe it didn't do well in the last couple minutes?
Well, we held them scoreless for 3.5 minutes because we didn't blow our assignments, right? Sure. It was like, because you know what a ghost screen is, right? They're coming to set it. So then that's what's tricky about a ghost screen. And we'd been switching all night, but I said, we're not switching it. So they always should have stayed. And so then all of a sudden we're going 2, and then we were a little late. Poffenberger decides to start hitting. So I just reminded them, I think we messed up one time in overtime. I said, look, it does not matter what they do, how far away the screens are, if they ghost it or whatever they do. No one is guarding anybody but who we told you to guard. And it was just like they just kind of locked in with that.
You mentioned your size earlier and kind of, you had that advantage today. You've had that advantage in a lot of games this season. How key is Hannah and Ava been to this team winning games this season?
They really have been key. I think, Ava has made such great growth, and I want to celebrate her key free throws tonight, right? Because she had a little foul trouble, and then she hasn't, and now we got into it a little bit. I want to talk about Journey Houston, big time minutes for Journey, and it was a good game for Journey because they were, when they played their small lineup. But when Ava came back in, she played a little timidly, right? Because she had 4 fouls. But then for her to hit that free throw, that was a lot of growth. But I think where we can keep improving is if we take care of that foul trouble and we just get a little bit more consistent and a little bit more, I got this. That's what I want to get Ava to really turn into, like, knowing to seal and, like, I want the ball, I can score. And sometimes we go a little quiet with that size, and we got to hit that elbow shot tonight. And most people are going to dare us to shoot that. We got a little timid at that. And they can really shoot it pretty well. in practice, we shoot them. But when you get in the game and you're hesitant, then that's tough to make that. So we're trying to force the drive and kick.
I think somebody could make a pretty strong case Ava is one of the most improved players in the
Yeah.
country. How did you challenge her, I guess, over the offseason, and how have you seen her grow into this player who can do this in big time, top 15 games?
Yeah. I just think, she spent, Chad, actually, Lysicow wrote a beautiful article on her in the Des Moines Register. And she was pretty raw and, just like she was kind of frustrated. She wanted to play and then, didn't really understand the process until finally she was like, okay, I'm just going to go get in the gym. And she started getting in the gym around Christmas, and then she started to understand what it took. And once it kind of clicks over for them and they understand that it's just a little bigger, faster, stronger, she embraced the challenge. And then I think, this summer she was like, hey, I want to be great. I understand it now. And I think, we still have a lot of growth for her to do, and that's what's so exciting is I think, just the foul trouble a little bit, knowing that body, because the wiriness is kind of what makes her unique, but the wiriness kind of gets us in trouble on defense, right? Because we're kind of, maybe I'll get that seal and I reach a little bit, or I'm kind of blocking straight up and I kind of come down on her. But boy, she's put a lot of time in the gym, and I'm really thrilled for her.
This is the first time you guys have been 8-0 in the Big Ten in 30 years.
Oh, really?
Predates you and Lisa even.
Wow, that's kind of crazy.
What kind of accomplishment? For perspective, you guys were 7-0 with Caitlin, and then you lost in overtime at Ohio State.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really?
So, just how hard is it to do that, and what does that mean for this team?
Yeah, I just think I'm just really, grateful. This team, they've had a lot of grittiness. I talk a lot about, trying to aspire to be a blue-collar, blue-blood program, right? Just blue-collar. And I think we had so many of those plays tonight and throughout the season. And, there's been some really great teams at Iowa. So I'm really, that's awesome. But I really talked to this team a lot about enjoying every game, because we all know where we want to end up. But I think I've always believed it's the process goals, right? If you put too much fixating on like, well, let's do this goal, I didn't even know what 8-0 was, right? And, it was my daughter that told me we were in the top 10, right? It's just that, social media is just such a firestorm, I just stay on it. So this means, though, to me, is like they've worked so hard, and it's a cool little feather in their cap. Like they can always say, hey, I was part of that team, right? I was part of, we did that. But, there's a lot bigger goals that we have. So again, I just try to keep them focused on the process. And every game and every day we stack a good practice. We have a lot of great prep, then it really helps us when we get these fun moments. And I just think it was pretty cool that we were able to, I guess, get that type of, record, if you call it that.
Sure.
Having to do it with, when you can do that, that's pretty special.
If you get to where you want to go this year, and you look back at this game, what lesson will you have learned to get to that point?
I just think there's two things, right? Is like, I think this team, we need to start understanding that we can be pretty good. I think they need to understand that we're pretty good. So we don't need to be timid. We don't need to be tentative. And I think they're still trying to really think, are we that good? Are we good? Are we good? And they're kind of looking around instead of being like, we're good. We can come down and we can hold this 15-point lead at Maryland. But I think sometimes we're double checking. So I think this game, just like we can look back, I think the Baylor game we played, Chit Chat got hurt. We found a way to pull that out. I think that was step one. And then the next day we played Miami. They full court press. It wasn't pretty. We found a way, right? And I think the reason that we found a way at Northwestern, the reason we found a way at Indiana, and when you're, everybody's like, well, I'll see how you do against this team. I'll see how you do against that team. It's like, I don't see it like everybody sees it. I just see the Big Ten as one heck of a conference with great coaches. And so you got to find a way. And these guys, I think, found a way tonight because of all that other things that have been happening. And they've leaned in that they're pretty gutting resilient. If we ever lean in that we're pretty good, I think then that's where the magic can happen. But we have to really get confidence and lean into that. And I think they do, but in moments like that, I think they got to trust it.